Hi, in this video we will learn how we can use the slider helper to control multiple parameters in multiple objects at the same time with a simple slider on the screen. And at the end of this video we will see how also some users use this slider helper to fake a watermark in the Max files. So first let's create a slider from the helpers uh, tab. Go to manipulators, click slider, and click anywhere on the screen. As you can see now, when you activate any viewport, it will show up in the same place I created it in. Now there are two ways to control the values and the parameters of the slider. You can select it and go to modify panel, and you can control it from here. In this case, you can just select it on the screen. You cannot do anything with it. You cannot move it. You cannot move it. You cannot drag the slider here, or change its width, or the position, or anything. To do that, you have to deselect the slider and click here to select and manipulate. Now the controls that you can control on the screen become green. Now I can click on this box here to drag it and place it where I want. I can change the value by dragging this triangle, and I can make it wider, larger, by dragging the diamond. Now turn off the select and manipulate so that you can select it. And here let's talk about these controls. Here you have the label. You can add a label. Let's call it height, for example, and the label will show up here. Here you can control the value. Here you can choose the maximum and minimum values. For example, I can say that by default the slider starts from 0 and the maximum is 100, but we can change that. I can make the minimum to be negative, like let's say minus 40, and the maximum is 300. But remember that these minimum and maximum applies when you choose the control on the screen with the select and manipulate. Here in the modify panel, you can control the value however you like. You can set it to any value you like. These values here will not constrain the value when you control it from here. But if I deselect and choose select and manipulate, for example, you can see that the minimum is minus 40 and the maximum is 300. Now here the X and Y position, the X goes from left to right, and the Y position up and down. Positive values, when you increase the Y, the slider will go down. This control here the width of the slider, yes. Here the snapping. For example, if I make it 1, that means when I change the value, but also not from here, when you change the value from here, it will increment by 1. Let's try this. I will choose select and manipulate. You can see here that the value is increasing by 1. But this doesn't apply for when you change the value in the here, and using this spinner here. You can hide and unhide the slider, but when you hide it, the rectangle, the plus, and the label will stay on the screen. Using the select and manipulate, you can hide the slider by clicking the plus. So now let's use the slider with an actual object. Here I have this box. Let's say I want to make it simple first. I want to control the height of the box using the slider. So I will select the slider, right click, wire parameters, then I will choose what control or what parameter in the slider I want to use. I want the value, and I will click. Now I will select the box, and in the box I want to control the object box, I want to control the height. So this parameter wiring opens up, and here I have three types of controls. You have the first one, which is two ways. That means if I change the height of the box, the value here will change, and if I change the value, the height will change. What I want in my case is to have a one-way connection, and this connection should goes from the slider to the height. So I will click this button here, then I should click connect. Now as you can see, the box height equals the value in the slider. So when I select the slider here and change the value, the box height will change. Now let's say I want to control also the height segments of the box. So I should click the height segments, click the one-way connection, and click connect. Now as you can see, the segments became too dense, 112. Let's say I don't want to increase the height segments exactly the amount of the value. So what I can do, here you can see the name value, which is the name of the parameter, and that tells that means that make the parameter here equals to this value. So I will click here and add the division sign and type 30 and click update, and this will update the relation. Now the value of the height segment will always equal to the parameter that comes from here, from the slider, divided by 30. So now it's 111 divided by 4, but divided by 30, sorry. No, it's 4. This doesn't accept a decimal value, so I can even make it a little bit more complex. I can say plus 2, for example, and click update. And now I will control now the slider using the manipulate. It's easier. If I want to disconnect the value from the height segments, I want the slider only to control the height. You need to have those two values selected at the same time, and click disconnect. Now when I change the value here, only the height is changing. I will bring back the segments to 1 again. And another thing, the wired parameter in the box now is grayed out. You cannot change it from here anymore. It is controlled only with the slider. Now in my case, you can see that it's green because I changed the colors. In your case, it is grayed out. So, okay, now let's try the slider with in a different scenario. Here I have a box with 10 by 10 by 10 of length and height and width segments. I will add a taper modifier. Now I want to control the tapering using the slider, so I can select the slider, right click, wire parameters, and I want to choose I will choose the value again, click the box. Now here you can see that I have this modified object. It will show the modifiers applied to the object. In the taper I want to choose the amount. Again, one-way connection, connect. Now as you can see, the tapering is it's too much, so I will click here and say divided by 20 and click update. And now you can see that but it's still too much for me, so I will make it 30. Click update. Now let's say I want to control the curvature also. So while this selected, click on curvature, one-way connection, connect. Now also the curvature is too much, so I will say divided by 30, update. So now I'm controlling the tapering and the curvature. I can make it negative. I put the minus sign here, click update. So now I'm controlling the tapering and the curvature. You can see here in the amount the amount is divided by 30, and the curvature also is divided by 30, but it's minus. In case you closed this box, you can bring it back by using Alt 5 or going to animation and wire parameter. Here you can if you have let's say if I added other objects in the scene, when you open the wire parameters dialog, you can see on the left and the right, you can see all the objects. Here you can see all the objects here also, so you can expand their parameters and you can create the wiring from here. So now I want to control the height also of the box, so I can go from here or use the right click method and the quad from the quad menu, but I can go here also. Let's try this, the parameter wiring. I will choose the slider here. In the object I will click the value, and from this side I will choose the box height, connect and connect. Now I'm controlling the height, the tapering and the curvature. Now let's say I will create a teapot, and okay, let's do it from here. It's the same thing. I will select the slider, right click, wire parameter, value, and I will click the teapot, and the object I will choose the transform position, Z position, one-way connection and connect. Now as you can see, now with the slider I'm controlling the box height, curvature, taper, and the teapot. Since the teapot equals the value here, and the value here also controls the height, so the teapot is always on top. Now let's add another modifier to the box. Twist. Right click, wire parameters, value, the box, and in the modified object, twist, angle, one way, connect, I'm controlling all these parameters. I will increase the maximum value to 600. Deselect, select and manipulate. Now since I need more segmentation when it's twisting a lot, I can at the same time I can make the height segments increase, so to keep the twisting smooth. So here in the box I will click on the height segments, one-way connection, connect. Now maybe I don't want this increase to be that violent, so I can divide it by, let's say, 5, update. Okay, now let's try to connect the slider value with the U offset of this texture on this object. So I can go to animation and open the wire parameters, or I can click the slider, right click, wire parameters, value, click the box, and here you have the material, and you have all these parameters that you can control. In the diffuse map coordinate, I will choose the U offset, one-way connection, connect. Now when I change the value, it will move. I can click select and manipulate and do it from here. Now remember one thing, if you have the snap on, the manipulation, it will not be very smooth, so it's better in this case to turn it off. So let's say I want to control also the V value. I can do it from here also, but also we can get used to open the dialog. So here in the objects, slider, value, object, box, wall with bricks, diffuse map, coordinate, and V offset, one-way connection, connect. Now let's say I don't want the V to be the same as U, so I can divide this value by, let's say, 3. Click update, and now when I change the value, okay, now the final example, I have this this floor plan. I have this floor. It has an extrusion of -40, and I have these walls with an extrude modifier. So let's say I want to control the extrusion using the slider. So select, right click, wire parameter, value, then click the wall. Here in modified extrusion amount, one way connect. Now I can control the value here. Now let's do something else. I will create a copy from this floor. I will call it ceiling, and wire parameters, value, and I will choose the ceiling. Transform, position, Z position, connect. Now I can manipulate the walls, and the ceiling will follow. Now let's say I want the ceiling not to be on top of the walls. Here I have this value of extrusion of -40, so what I can do here, while the Z position is selected with the value, I can say plus 0.4 and click update, and now you can see that the ceiling is on top. And now I can choose the value here, the spinner, and control the height of the walls and the position, the Z position of the ceiling. This value here can be animated. So turn on the auto key, move the time slider. Now I can change the value from here, bring it down and up and down again. Now when I play the animation, if I bring back the other objects, let's say the box with taper and the wall with bricks, now when I play the animation, everything is animated now without animating specifically these objects. Okay, last, like we said in the beginning, we're gonna see how some users use this slider as a fake watermark. So what they did was that they click the hide and they moved the position down to hide the box. Now you cannot even select the box to move it up anymore. You can only see the label, and here you can type anything like this file is password protected, let's say, something like that, whatever you want to type. And to make it even more difficult, you can right click and choose freeze selection. So now you cannot even select it. So if this happens to you, even though it's not very frequent, you can just right click and say unfreeze all, select it and delete. And that's it for this video. If you like it, please press the like button and subscribe to the channel, and see you next time.